Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. So, I've not seen X-Men Apocalypse. I have a friend here that has his own page and podcast, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. His name is Jay. He was able to actually watch it today, and I'm going to be asking him a series of questions that are going to be kind of interviewing him into a small discussion. We're going to try to keep it as close to the cut as 15 minutes. So, Jay, who are you, and what site do you take up and hail from?
Okay. My name is Jay. I'm from the nerdpocalypse.com. We're sort of a nerd site, but we also are a podcast network. We have several shows, the Nerdpocalypse being sort of our main show. We have Black on Black Cinema, which I know a lot of people have heard of. Dense Pixels, which is our video game show, and we have a number of other shows. But you can check out our stuff on the nerdpocalypse.com. We did just write a review. I specifically wrote the review for X-Men Apocalypse that I just saw the screening for earlier today. So, yeah, we can talk about it, and obviously we won't do spoilers, but I can give you my impressions on it.
Yeah, y'all don't have to worry about any spoilers. This is a non-spoiler review. I mean, if y'all want to go into spoilers, you have to kind of take this up with this man because I haven't seen it, and I'm not going to probably be able to see it until like the 27th. But if you go to the description bar below, you can check out his written review from the Nerdpocalypse website. So, Jay, what were your expectations going into the movie when you first saw the first two trailers, not even the third one? What were your expectations going into it?
So for me, even before getting to the trailers, like I thought, just cutting back a little bit, I thought Days of Future Past I thought it was fine. I wasn't super blown away by it. I didn't think it was bad by any means. I think I gave it like a 3 out of 5. So I guess I was sort of expecting this to be somewhere in that same realm. And the trailers to me were not particularly impressive. And I think that's pretty true for a lot of people. I think part of the reason Days of Future Past did so well is because of the older cast. At least that's my personal opinion. And so when this one came out and it didn't have anybody from the old cast, I think that sort of suffered. And I just thought the trailer just wasn't that great. It wasn't until the third trailer, which I already knew that the Wolverine stuff was going to be in it because there were articles a number of months ago about it. But not until the third trailer did it seem like it had, like they were trying to like show off a little something. You know, they had like, "Hey man, nice shot" playing in the trailer, which is a good song. It wasn't just some slow, another slow version of a song, which is like the classic trailer thing now.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be all that different from Days of Future Past. However, seeing it today, I look again. I didn't think Days of Future Past was that amazing, but I wish it was as good as Days of Future Past.
Wow, that says a lot. So when you first got into the movie and you started watching it, were there any signs right away that you were thinking it was going to go one way or another? Or was it kind of like towards like the third act or the middle act that you were kind of like, this is going off ship, or it could go back and forth?
I won't say there was like a quick telltale sign. I did think it was a little odd. Look, I'm an X-Men fan, comic wise, but like I'm not like super duper like crazy. No, like every like in and out about like X-Men lore by any means. But like I found it a little odd. Is it? I mean, maybe you can answer this. Like, is it commonplace for Apocalypse to switch bodies? Like, that's not a thing that I was ever aware of, and that's sort of like right in the beginning. And I was like, huh, okay.
The origin story of Apocalypse and the way that his conception of how he's actually born versus how he's actually been created, I think that's been traded off between cartoon series, between comics. So as far as his initial form to how he gets to a certain point, I think that's definitely been shifted. And I mean, there's no telling what that looked like for you in the theaters, but it's definitely been changes back and forth. Now, in terms of the four horsemen, those have been interchanged out throughout.
Yeah, that I know. So like and the movie deals with like showing like the four horsemen of like an ancient time, and that's not really a spoiler. And you get like sort of a brief introduction to them, and then like time goes on, and then obviously we're in present time or the 80s. But I wouldn't say that there was one thing I was like, aha, this is going to be bad or this will be great. But there was like this moment of CGI with a character in the beginning, and I was like, that doesn't look good. Like that looks legit bad. And I thought the CGI in the trailers were a little suspect anyway. So that looked a little like the wire work and stuff was a little. I mean, the X-Men wire work is still kind of trapped in the early 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there was any sort of like, oh, this is a major indicator. But maybe by the look, the movie is 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
An hour and 20 minutes of the movie is all of them is all still recruiting characters for the movie. So it feels really slow in the first half of the movie. I mean, I literally leaned over to a friend of mine and said, when the fuck is anything going to happen in this thing? Like there's nothing going on. It's like, let's find out where Magneto has been and let's go recruit Cyclops and Jean Grey. And it's kind of like that for an hour and 20 minutes.
So it sounds like it's kind of a culmination of how they propositioned First Class and then the way that they tried to deliver on Days of Future Past in that respect, if that's the case. So I guess my next question is going to be coming off of, I think you've already seen Civil War. I've seen Civil War like twice. Really action driven, really fast paced. But the best thing about it that most people have said unanimously is the way that the heroes are able to work together, utilizing their powers and then using the powers against each other. Right. How is the action? How are the mutants going off of each other? How do they play off of each other as far as an action aesthetic is concerned?
One of the things, that's a good question. So one of the things that I was kind of happy to see in Days of Future Past was the opening sequence, right? Like you got to see Blink and Colossus, Blink, Colossus, and Iceman, and Warlock working together, right? Like that was like literally the first time in 14 years at that point in the franchise you actually got to see some teamwork. There is so little teamwork in this movie, and that's really sad because that was one of like. I feel like it's an easy lesson to learn, right? You learned it and people were hyped for it in the early part of Days of Future Past, which you didn't get any more of it in that movie. And then people were super hyped for it in Age of Ultron, which totally nailed the teamwork, right? Like whatever you think about that movie, like the teamwork in that movie was stellar.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this movie, and look, it could be a narrative choice, which is everybody, because like the teams are coming together, like the early, this sort of the early melding of the traditional X-Men. They really know each other, so no real way to play off of their powers because they just really don't know them. I mean, Scott is still kind of learning his powers. So to that, to be fair to the movie, like narratively, it wouldn't make sense for them to be as well trained as like the Avengers are in their second big outing.
Yeah, true.
But that being said, like, no, there's no teamwork. Like there's not. And it's a team movie. And this is the 16th year of this franchise. And we still haven't seen it in the main continuity. And that's really frustrating.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that me personally going into this movie, I was going to kind of assess from the simple fact that Apocalypse is the end all be all. He's not just somebody that is a throwaway villain that you can just contain or kill, right? Like easily. And so for me, I was thinking to myself, how are the young, X-Men going to combat him when even the X-Men in their prime couldn't really beat him? So that was one of the questions that I was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to work. It sounds like from your perspective that it's definitely some jaded things that kind of happen. I'm not sure how they're actually trained or who trains them or what events happen, but that was one of the biggest questions that, like, for me personally going in there, was like, how are these young guys going to really defeat the unbeatable,
Right.
So I guess that's a good transition question as far as Apocalypse, everybody was talking trash about how purple he looked. It was because of the magazine, I guess. Singer has said like this, that, and the other. And I mean, from the trailers now, he's looking a lot more blue, a lot more gray, but definitely is not what we remember him from the comics or the X-Men cartoon series. But how did Oscar Isaac play Apocalypse, and how did you receive it?
Okay, so one, I'm a huge Oscar Isaac fan, right? Like,
Awesome.
I love this guy. Like, he's good in, he was good in Star Wars. He's good in, like Ex Machina and stuff like that. Like, the dude is amazing.
Yeah.
He does not have a lot to work with in this movie.
Mm.
And one of the, like we gave the movie, or I gave the movie, 1.5 out of 5. And largely the reviews have been pretty much in line with that. Like, I think it's at like a 43, maybe a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, for what it's worth. But one of the big things that a lot of people keep harping on is how lacking he is for this world-ending villain. And he spends more time, like, all of the things in the trailers, it's like, everything they build will fall. Like, all of those platitudes. Like, he spends most of the time recruiting his 4 horsemen or yelling platitudes on a hill. Like, very rarely until the very end of the movie is he really have any level of menace. Like, he just really is just really not there. And look, I think this is a real Bryan Singer issue. Is I don't think that Singer knows how to handle these like massive characters like this, like these like really over the top characters. I mean, Apocalypse is an over the top character. He's not like Magneto, who's a guy, where you can like, well, he's a guy, he's got these powers, and you can just show him. Like, Apocalypse is basically a god. Like, he can do anything, and there are so many aspects to Apocalypse that are just not explored. And I don't mean like, like the sort of twisted father thing or like any of that. I mean, like, literally his power set are just not explored at all. And that's really super frustrating because, like, this guy is supposed to be, like you said, he should be a formidable enemy for the X-Men in their prime.
Yeah.
Let alone like the teeny bopper X-Men. They should be having a hell of a time with him.
Exactly.
But yeah, I feel like Oscar Isaac does really well when he has really good material to work with. And in this case, he had shit to work with.
Yeah. That's interesting. And it's sad at the same time.
It is, because the dude is a good actor. Like, in the right hands with better writing, he could have been awesome. Look, one of the things, you talked about, like, he looked like really purple in that one image that people were like flipping out about, me included. Yeah. Look, they do make him look gray and all this other stuff. But his look is pretty much what you've seen. Like, they're like, there was all this talk of, he'll change and his final form will be, nah, man, no. Like, the trailer is what he looks like pretty much from start to finish.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
Yeah, so don't look for some, like, there's going to be some extra, like, there's no extra. There's no there. Like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah. So, I mean, now that we've talked about Apocalypse, I guess we can talk about some of the other actors that are playing these characters. A lot of people have been on the fence with different ones, specifically Jennifer Lawrence is Mystique, Olivia Munn is Psylocke, the newcomers, the new old X-Men, like Jean Grey, Scott Summers. I mean, I think that to have the girl from Game of Thrones to play Jean Grey, I think that was a strong choice.
Sophie.
But I was curious to see where they would take her character. And I think more than any other character, I wanted to see if they got Jean Grey's powers right, where they, to me, messed up for The Last Stand. But as far as the different characters, I guess without spoiling anything, did they do any of them any real justice? And which ones stood out and which ones kind of failed, I guess is a good way.
Okay. Well, the reason why I started laughing when you were talking, it was certainly not at you. I was laughing because you mentioned Psylocke and Olivia Munn. Look, everybody's like, oh, she's got the best costume. It's like super comic accurate, and it was, and it looked really great on screen. Olivia Munn literally has one line in the entire movie. Maybe I could be wrong. It might be 2.
Oh no!
I'm not even kidding you. I'm not kidding you.
Oh no!
For all the article, like, oh, she didn't want to be the girlfriend in Deadpool. She wanted to kick ass. Yeah, well, she doesn't say anything. she has. I'm telling you, it's no more than 2 lines. I'm pretty sure it's this one.
So she fights the whole time. She doesn't talk.
Fights the whole time? Okay, sure. Let's go with that.
Oh no!
Let's go with that. Sure.
Oh god.
Yeah. Look, man, I'm telling you, it's the classic Singer issue. There's too many people in this movie, and they don't get enough time. They don't. Angel has more lines than she does.
Wow. So, okay, well, for you,
a bigger star. She's easily a bigger star than I don't even know that guy's name.
She definitely is.
So, like the other characters, I will say this: standouts for me. I thought Cody Smith McPhee, who plays Nightcrawler, was very good.
Awesome.
Like, he's got the accent down. He's sort of like a little bit of a goofball. He rocks the Thriller jacket the most of the movie. He's kind of a lovable character. Like he gets a decent amount to do in the movie. Like he's got like none of those characters have, besides Jean and Scott, none of them have arcs. But he gets a decent amount to do, so that's kind of cool. I enjoyed him a lot. Psylocke looked great when she was fighting. Like it looked good. I'll have to ask you a question offline that you and I can talk about. I don't want to say anything because I don't want it to be too spoilery.
Okay.
And it won't spoil anything for you, but I just don't want to get into that territory at all. Let's see. Cyclops and Jean Grey. Sophie Turner as Jean Grey was pretty good. She's pretty good. I actually enjoyed her quite a bit. I'm interested to see when she has a lot more to do. Clearly in the next movie. It'll be good. She's a good actress. Like so.
Okay.
So I think that's solid casting. Ty Sheridan as Cyclops is pretty good. Like it's not bad. Again, not mind blowing, but it's pretty good. Like he's got a couple scenes where you're just like, all right, like not bad. I mean, Angel is in the movie. Like again. Like one of my big issues is the 4 Horsemen outside of Magneto don't say much. Like, they just don't. Magneto says more because he's Magneto, but the other ones not really. Kristen Shipp as Storm, okay. Like I'm not saying it'll make you miss Halle Berry by any means, but it's not going to make you be like, whoa, this is a way better choice. Like,
is it? So from your perspective, is it that the characters, like, I mean, I don't want to compare. I really don't want to compare. But taking like Civil War, one of the things they did well is they gave enough time with each character to stand out. So that didn't parallel this movie. There are moments where there were a lot of people that kind of like misjointed as far as the amount of time that they had for you to actually really care. Or is that too many characters, or is it just a lack of how the scripting was for the amount of time they had?
I think it's I think it's a little bit of both, but I think, like you said, you try not to compare, this with Civil War, because Civil War, the characters already.
Exactly.
Like they get a little bit of a leg up. Like you already know who Vision is, you know who Falcon is, or War Machine, stuff like that. But in this one, there are a lot of new characters. So, no, they don't get a lot of standout time. Like, they just don't. Again, Cody Smith McPhee has a couple of moments that are really cool. Really cool is an overstatement, but are cool. It's just a cooler character. Like, he just is. Quicksilver is obviously in the movie, and he has his big scene. Which for me, honestly, was the moment I threw my hands up for this movie. Like, and I don't mean that in a positive way. Like this is great. I mean like, holy shit, what the fuck are they doing?
So do you think that'll moment to be a crowd pleaser though? Because like some people like they
I
want
think
that.
I mean, look, I think if you loved the Quicksilver scene in the first movie, then you will love this scene. I personally thought that the Quicksilver scene in the first one was like, okay, that's like kind of comedic and like it was okay.
Yeah.
This one took that logical leap and drove it into the ground. They were like, oh, did you really like that? We're going to give you more of it. And it was like, well, okay, all right. Well, we're just going to do that now. Like, I just have a feeling, I was joking with somebody earlier. I said, okay, so the next movie is set in the 90s. So his sequence will be done to like Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like, it will be the same scene because that's what it's the same scene. But it's just larger. Like that's just the point. It's just a larger scene. But yeah, the characters don't really get a lot of standout time. Quicksilver definitely is less of a prop in this movie than he was in Days of Future Past.
Okay, that's good.
But I wouldn't argue that he's a fully fleshed out character either.
That's interesting.
I mean, the core group, you know, Xavier, Magneto, Mystique are and Cyclops and Jean Grey are the most fleshed out characters, and and Apocalypse to whatever degree he needs to be, because he doesn't need to be super fleshed out anyway. But yeah, those are the main characters. Everyone else is sort of on the periphery. Look, you want to know how many lines? Look, you want to know how many lines Jubilee had? It's less than Psylocke.
What?
Yeah, dude. She doesn't say a word in this movie.
That's not good.
Like, why did you even have her in the commercials?
Because wasn't she in, if I'm not mistaken, she was in X2 for like a second?
Yeah.
In the beginning?
She's in this one for like 8 seconds. I mean, she has no lines.
That's well, I guess what they're trying to do is they're trying to world build for the next movie. But I mean, the movie, like I tell a lot of people, the movie has to stand on its own. Yeah. And I mean, they are coming off of First Class. You can't just sit there and say this is coming off of X-Men 1, because First Class and then Days of Future Past changed everything as far as the platform and the way the cinematic universe for them is anyway. So they literally could have taken this any way they really wanted to. I was kind of cautious with them going back with the younger generation, but I was like, they could flesh it out the right way. So I don't know. I'm going to still stay optimistic on it. But you said, what did you give it as far as a rating from 1 to 10?
Well, we do out of 5. So
okay.
we did 1.5 stars out of 5 stars.
Okay. So would you recommend this to anybody that's an X-Men fan? That's not just like a normal viewer. Because I mean, a lot of movies now, especially superhero movies, they are specific to those people that love these characters and the mythologies behind them. I mean, based on the mythology of the X-Men, based on the X-Men movies, would you recommend this to an X-Men viewer?
I would argue if you really like these newer X-Men movies, First Class and Days of Future Past, then you should see it, right? You should see the end of the trilogy. Would I like, wow, this is like a movie you really need to see? No, I don't think so. I mean, unless you're talking about from a standpoint of world building to see what comes next, then okay. Because there's like, we didn't get in our screening, we didn't get the after credit scene, but the way the movie ends gives a very huge message of like, this is what's coming next, kind of thing. So it's like you can't miss it. So if you want to see that, then sure, but no, it's not good. Like, it really isn't. And it's actually really, it's disappointing. Like, it really is a step back. And what I hope is that the reception of this movie causes a course correct for them. Like, they need to figure out how to do these movies. Like, they need to, I think this movie could have benefited by making the cast smaller and concentrating on that like original group of X-Men. That would have been a brighter move, but they didn't. So it is what it is. But no, as a movie itself, no, I would not recommend someone see it.
Yeah. And what did you grade Deadpool coming from Fox as well? What did you grade that when it came out?
I think we gave it a 5.
Yeah,
5 out of 5. Like that's the thing, right? Like I know, it's kind of unfair to be like, well, let's compare it to Deadpool. I mean, it is a Fox X-Men universe movie, but like it's better to compare it to Days of Future Past, right? Because or First Class, which again, I think those movies, I think First Class, I'd probably give a 3.5, maybe even on first viewing, probably a 3.5 out of 5 to maybe even a 4 out of 5. But upon repeat viewings, I think I don't think it holds up as well. But Deadpool, I think, does hold up. Like it's just a good narrative story. Where this one it's really bloated and it's really boring in a lot of spots. Like nothing happens for long swaths of time.
This is interesting. Well, this is an awesome interview, man. I appreciate you for coming, checking it out, and talking with us. Definitely the description bar below. Go check out his website and see what new podcasts he's got coming up. And Jay, I appreciate you for coming, man.
Yeah, no problem. Now, let me say one quick thing. People will keep asking about Wolverine. I won't spoil anything. The Wolverine scene is good.
Oh, really?
It's good. That's all I'll say.
Dang. So is it going to be fan-pleasing from those that know the comics? I guess that's a good question without saying too much. Because the way that
I would say yes. I would say that if you're a fan of the comics, you're going to be pretty happy with that scene. Yep.
All right. That brings a little bit of joy to my heart.
Hey, look, it's one of the few bright spots of the movie. Like it is. It doesn't change the overall tone of the movie or anything like that, or have any lasting effects in the movie itself, except for people die, soldiers die. But outside of that, no, it's just like a nice little sort of fan service moment, and then it's over.
Yeah, and I guess this is one last thing. So, from the understanding, there's a confirmation that the new Wolverine movie not only has been filming or started filming, but it's actually going to be rated R. What are your expectations on that? I was kind of curious.
Look, I thought the Wolverine was a really solid ass movie up until the third act.
I agree, totally.
And it was just like, because you could see who was supposed to direct it before.
David Aronofsky.
Darren
Aronofsky. Yeah.
Darren Aronofsky, right? It was a Darren Aronofsky film, those first 2 acts, and it felt good. I was like, damn, this is damn good. Like this is really impressive. Yeah. And then it felt like the third act was James Mangold's writing, and I was like, what is this? Like it just didn't fit. And I'm hoping that they can pull off more of an Aronofsky side of a movie than what we got in the third act. But look, I'm optimistic for that. Look, I think Hugh Jackman is great as Wolverine. I think he's really awesome. I think he just needs a damn good script. That's all he needs. So we'll see, man.
Same way. Yeah, I was thinking about when the Wolverine came out, and I looked at that final scene, and I was like, man, this is just a setup for Days of Future Past. That's the only thing that they made that last act for, essentially. And I don't know, but we can get into that in another discussion. But thanks for joining, Jay. I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Anytime.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Y'all keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Y'all have a good night. Peace.